Hey there, my dear loved ones. Dana, otherwise known as Dana Spirit Butterfly, here. This is a video to support you in the next moon cycle. We work on moon cycles now energetically to enhance the obviousness or the saliency of what we call the rising sacred feminine. And feminine energy or feminine language is not just unique to women, it's just more strongly obvious in womankind or womankind. So these videos are a series of inspirations, if you will, to support you hopefully on your journey of life, recognizing that we are souls in a physical vehicle and we have a physical body that loves and wishes to be engaged in physical exploration and wisdom. And we're also a mental mind mapping system that likes to know things and likes to think about things and likes to possess and be in ownership of things. And we also have a part of us that's here to express and to connect with other humans as we are encapsulated in our own form. I call this the I am presence, and of course I'm not the only spiritual practitioner who uses this as a terminology to support the magic that she wields. So, Dana, compassionate giving is my business. I am here to be in service. And when I use the term in service, I want to emphasize that being in service is not just about surrendering my personality and dropping all the things that I believe to be true down so that I can just support you. Although, of course, if you do book a session with me and you gift me the opportunity to read for you or to engage in a healing on your behalf, I will show up for you specifically to engage with your intuitive intelligence and your spiritual energy to support you in your life, however that shows up in that moment. Because we're always in that moment, you understand, we're always amassed in one point of reference, which is known as the now moment. Which is why with a lot of mental wellness practices, we do something called mindfulness. Mindfulness brings us back to a point. It brings us back to the most obvious moment in which you inhabit your fullest potential and power, which is in this present moment, in this physical reality, looking through these physical eyes and not off daydreaming out into the ether. But of course, we've just come from a Piscean cycle, and of course we are in what is believed to be the age of Aquarius, which is an air sign, and we are progressively, and you just need to look at the way that we run our modern technologies these days. Everything is online. And the interesting thing about online, if you've ever had an online conversation with someone on a chat as opposed to an in-person conversation with someone in physical presence without all of the electronics, you might notice that the dialogue is different. You might notice that what it is that you dare to say or you don't dare to say changes. And we are more and more, obviously, moving online into a technology that basically takes us out of physical presence and puts us into the mind mapping system more obviously. More and more people are having difficulty being fully embodied in the emotional self, which is why the planetary wisdom that underpins all things and keeps us flowing along a connected trajectory. And when we say that, we're basically acknowledging that you are, by virtue of being born, connected to a blood lineage or an ancestry, which means that you have friends or family. Let's focus on family because we just talked about blood lineage. You have family members who, since you were born, i.e. incarnated, you have a connectivity to these individuals. So if you were to sit where you are and live your life as you are, on some level, whether you're in physical connection with these people or not, there is some conversation going on around you or about you in the world that is other people's knowledge of you that exists simply because you were born into a family. Now, as I say family, I was having my inner dialogue with Spirit earlier, and we were talking about how at the moment there's a lot of, and there has been for a while anyway, but even now more so, there's been this focus on home. What is home for me? What does home mean for me? What do I want my home to look like? Who do I want in my home? And when we talk about home from a spiritual perspective, we're often talking about something that we term origin. An origin could be your birth origin. origin could be your soul's origin, which is a different conversation and not one that we're necessarily going to go into in this moment. Because our own focus, our own bias, if you will, is that we want you to be in life, living your life as a physical human and not daydreaming so much in the astral about your star seed lineage, which is of value to you perhaps as it amasses in the now moment, as it brings you into your physical world, as you interact with people and it influences you, for sure. There is relativity there. But the basis of your origin in this lifetime comes from your birth story. And the birth story is often something that quite often we ignore or we don't pay it much attention. But at the moment, the spirit oneness, that is the greater creator consciousness that connects us all, has actually asked many of us to take greater ownership of our birth story. Who do we belong to? What is home for us? Where do we originate from and why? And so if you've noticed that you've had some questions around whether or not you need to travel home, whether or not you need to be with family rather than friends, whether or not you need to be tough and actually acknowledge that you have parents who need you and have needed you this whole time from the moment that you were born. Ironically, that's why I remember watching a video once where they were talking about parents and how no parents actually, like parenting in itself is actually the greatest act of selfishness. And I know that you can dialogue around this whole idea of sacrificing your energy and your time as a parent to gift that child with their life, for sure. That's a perspective. But to decide to have a child and to give birth to a child is nearly always a decision that the individual makes, which by its very definition is a form of self-directed decision making. The child is in life because you made a decision at some point on some level to give life to another human being on the planet. And this is really important to recognize, that this creates a seamless lineage, interwoven web of associated meaning and expression through the DNA. And so children, when they are born to parents, often they don't understand in the moment of their birth and their childhood why it is that they're born to those particular parents, why it is that they're born in those particular circumstances with those particular people around them, why it is that they were schooled in the method that they were, why it is that they weren't given the support that they were needing at the time that would have led to their stardom, to them being magnificent. And the secret there really is that self-determination is actually one of the most powerful illuminators of the human spirit, that creates magnetic resonance that supports you and also inspires others to find their center. And so the journey of the soul requires you to have some childhood distress in order for you to have questions around, why am I here? What am I doing? And what is my soul purpose? Which those of you who have never contemplated a question around your soul purpose probably haven't had much excuse to. You probably haven't had much of a reason to ask yourself, why am I here? Maybe because you've always felt supported, maybe because you've always had enough money, maybe because the trajectory or the pathway moving forward seemed obvious to you and you just took your steps along that path. But for the majority of people, I would suggest, and up to you, because this video is to inspire you specifically wherever you lay and whatever it is that it invokes in you. This is specifically to inspire you, because that's why we have other people in interaction with us offering, YouTube videos and what. These things are here to inspire you to see yourself anew, to see yourself as new, to see yourself in ways that maybe you haven't contemplated before. And in my own experience, individuals that have always been provided to their level of satisfaction and have always received all of the inspiration from parents and what have you, those of you who have never had any cause to doubt yourself, you will not get a lot of the things that we talk about, specifically because the whole scenario of your life has never asked you to question that which has been provided for you. And I get you. I understand. I do know people who are like that. And to be honest, I don't tend to make a lot of time to spend time with such people, because We can't find each other somewhere in the middle easily without me, who has a hell of a lot more experience, usually because life has pushed me out and asked me to dive into a hell of a lot of difference and diversity, and the questioning has driven a lot of travel. And so I've had, as a human spirit, a lot of opportunity to explore myself with various guises and hats, taking on various roles to be able to experiment and see whether I like this way of life or not, whether I understand it, whether it aligns with me, whether it's better than what it is that I came from. And the answer has never been yes, but it's also never necessarily been no either. It's always just been different. And the difference in itself has actually expanded me like crazy. And this difference does expand us like crazy. Experimenting with our various aspects is actually a sign of a soul that's growing. It's also a sign of a soul that is on an evolutionary pathway to greatness. And the ability to hold yourself accountable to your own self and your soul, and to be able to maintain stability, personal integrity, balance, prosperity, harmony. Add your own buzzword if you're on the whole motivational train of personal development. But for now, the question, where is home for me? Why are we having these sensations to return back home? It's actually because together we thrive. And there's a certain amount of acknowledgement in this time-space continuum at the moment with what the planetary grid is doing. There's a real need for us to come together, to figure it out, and to come up with strategies that are useful to rebuild and to build in a way that's gratefully received by others. Because if it can't be received by others in a way that allows them to feel like they're receiving, then it's not stable. And this is, Spirit just gave me the universal conundrum. This is the universal conundrum, you know. Do I do what I want to do because I feel like I want to do it? Do I tune into what it is that people need from me and just do what it is that people need from me, and then somehow I'll receive satisfaction that way? The answer is that there's a happy medium there. There's a soft spot. There's a space in between there that needs to be brokered. And I feel the sense that when I'm leaning into the word brokered, it is a pathway, it's a conversation. It's not something that you are supposed to get right innately. Although arguably, if you were intrinsically in contact with you all the way through, all the way to your center, and listening to the inner guidance that is deeply seated, not all of the layers of survival mechanisms that have added maladaptations to your own energetics so that you can complicate your life and go off on merry journeys trying to find yourself, when really the space where you'll find yourself is always back home. I laugh because those of you who know me, you realize that at the moment I'm actually in my my bedroom of my adolescence. So this whole video is being recorded in my adolescent childhood's environmental experience. Of course, I've made some adjustments and I'm only here temporarily, but this is it's been an exercise. And remembering all the things that I've been teaching over years of personal spiritual development and a lot of deep diving. So Spirit is bringing me back, because Spirit always has to bring me back. Butterfly that I am, I tend to like to go off on little tangential journeys. I have notes here. So we already spoke about togetherness. To move forwards, we need to be together. There is no way that any of us can move forwards without some level of company on the road. And that company may look like a variety of things, but we've gone backwards in order to go forwards. We are in a conjunct, is what the astrologists say. I don't particularly know much about astrology except that which my spidey senses direct me to. And of course, if you want to learn a little bit about how I work, or learn how to work your life around the spidey senses and access yourself, then I run courses to teach people how to do this for themselves. So tune into that. I call it the clairs. That's the first job that we do. But the spidey sense, essentially, Nexus, is the removal of the need to know and of the part of me that's in controlling all the time and trying to make everything right and trying to do everything better and expanding large amounts of energy to the point of burnout. It is about weaving innate natural intelligence that just comes in flow, which is the sacred feminine rising. So with my notes, togetherness, together we rise. At the moment we have a conjunct of Venus and Mars traveling forwards together, but they are, as I understand, just about to exit Capricorn. Capricorn is often about the home. Capricorn is probably one of the more denser earth signs because it's quite a fixed sign. It doesn't like to move. It doesn't like to go anywhere. It wants to stay where it is. But Venus and Mars are traveling through it together. So at the moment, there's a lot of self-determination going on of men and women, their masculine and their feminine, in active dialogue concurrently. That's a word, isn't it? I can't get off it, so it must be, or I'm making words up. So concurrently, there we go. So concurrently, at the same time. And so a part of this process is still a shedding. We're still shedding layers. We're moving into a fire sign, Aries, which is most of April, will be a much bigger, much better month for most of us. But May to June is going to be another bit of a shit show until there's an opening in July, August, September. So we do work cyclically. Our energy is cyclic. Anybody who believes that you can just pick a trajectory and there's nothing that's going to knock you off that perspective at any point in time, this is a part of just it's a part of maturity, actually. It's a part of understanding that you can't get what you want without there being some kind of negotiation process. We used the term brokering before. Brokering is about figuring it out. And it's difficult to figure out what it is that you truly want and what it is that the soul craves and where we're actually heading collectively as a mass, as a tribe, without realizing that some changes have to happen. And changes often come off the back of what we call the catharsis spiral, also something that I teach about, which is about surrendering to the things that aren't working and recognizing that you're just a soul on a journey, having an experience that needs to be unraveled. And so awareness unravels over time, and it doesn't unravel if you just go from point A to Z with the expectations that you have being met. There is some kind of knocking off the trajectory that you're on that is involved in upgrading your system, otherwise known as those aspects of me that are still stuck in childhood, upgrading so that I can free up their energy now to adult and to help build the bigger, broader community that we're all craving and stepping into. Expect a lot of U-turning, which basically means that you may have an idea of what it is that you want this year to be about, but expect it to go wrong. When we say that, we're not saying that it's going to go wrong, but expect it to go wrong. And when things don't quite work out, you'll be able to maintain your trajectory a lot more easily. And when we talk about trajectory, there's a way of maintaining a trajectory that recognizes that this is the directional heading that I have, but the details in themselves have some flexibility or movement. And this is the material point. At the moment, the flexibility in our mind mapping system that likes to plot kind of a trajectory moving forwards, and then once it gets knocked off its bicycle, it doesn't want to get back up again because it's stubborn and it needs it to be on its own terms and in its own timing. Look, a part of this is very Capricorn. Part of this is part of nature, and we all have those aspects. After all, you know, the saying is that at the moment of your birth portal, even though you may be a sun sign in Capricorn or wherever it is that you are, that's not my sun sign, but all planets were actually active players at the moment of your birth anyway, because they existed. And so we all have aspects of this playing in our field. So moving into the forwards, at the moment, there's a lot more trajectory. There's a lot more movement. This year was going to have a lot of U-turns. U-turns at the right moment, which usually is close to when you've achieved your goal. Something will actually bump you off achieving your goal. We are not worried about that because we know that the soul's truth is that we're all going through an upgrade, which basically means we're all maturing into ourselves, letting go of the old things that no longer serve us or support us, and we're starting to embrace the new. And the new, we don't know what it looks like. We cannot control what it's going to look like, so please stop trying. You can keep mapping it with your mind and keep dreaming into the illusion. Of course, we've just entered Piscean energy, and so the Piscean energy, and of course this is a Piscean moon cycle, is very emotional, and that came off the back of an Aquarian sign, which of course is very idealized. We're also heading into a full moon of Virgo, which is also an air sign, but it's an air sign with a lot of administration and a lot of focus and a lot of clarity. And so this month will be a lot of emotional expressing. It'll be a lot of emotional feels. There'll be a lot of up and downs. There'll be a lot of water. And those of you who are in the Northern Rivers, you may roll your eyes, but this is across the board. There was going to be a lot of water in this moon cycle. There needed to be. The water in itself is not the problem. It's actually the approach to life that needs upgrading. And so the water in itself is actually part of the cleansing process. It's a part of the resetting of the return of the new earth. And when we use the term the return of the new earth, we're really basically just getting back to basics, getting back to fundamental truths, which is, I need this amount to be able to live off. I need this I need this type of food to be able to nourish myself. I need this amount of sunshine. I need this amount of sleep. I need this amount of water. Clean, ideally spring water if you can, locally sourced. So it was supposed to bring us back to our fundamental truths, which basically are you exist and you are fine and you are safe and you are well. And we actually live in a time moment where there's a lot of abundance that's available, yes, to you. Even if you see all the things that you don't have and you aspire to have all these things that you don't currently have in your life, if you acknowledge that which is here, you will find you will travel more stably through your life heading forwards. And this is the material point. We're getting back to basics specifically so that we can realign ourselves with the central alignment, which basically eases off our parents and reclaims the sacred space of our own personal voice in a way that is aligned with the heart, which is, some people use the term 5D upgrade. All it basically is recognizing that our hearts are intelligent. They have more technology than our minds do. They know way more than we do, if only we listen. And the rest is just embodying that which we know to be true and that which feels right for us. And that can't be done on the level of the mind mapping system. It can't be done by the intellect. Ironically, I always laugh when people tell me that I'm an intellectual woman because I have the gift of voice and the ability to communicate, but I'm actually deeply water. So if you ever heard me use my words, it usually means you're not listening. Anyway, let's wrap this up. The whole point of this year is togetherness. We mentioned that, but it's also transcendence. So we just want to call out all of those who believe that transcendence as a word means spiritual bypassing. You can't transcend something you don't acknowledge. And so spiritual bypassing is actually when I ignore that which is in order to create an alternative reality and then to try to live my life back there, up there. Usually it's up there or out there or somewhere to the left or the right or wherever. Either way, I'm living out of body if that's my truth. And so transcendence, I have to bring my body with me. So transcendence only happens when I fully own my truth. And it doesn't have to be me constantly projecting all of my energetics out at people so that they listen, to make them listen. It basically means I have to listen to me and I have to make sure that I'm hearing that which I see for myself as being true. And I learn how my own voice speaks to me. This is what I teach you. So if you want to learn more about the work that I do, if you want to learn more about my courses, maybe tune in for a reading. Hey, let's experiment. This is the word I like to throw out to my clients. Life needs to be a little bit more of an experimentation so that we explore the reality of it and less of a predictive text experience. And so kisses. If you want to find out more about my work, Dana Spirit Butterfly, that's DANA spiritbutterfly.com is my website. danaparker.com.au if you'd like to use my actual birth name. Check out my products and services, obviously YouTube, Facebook under Dana Spirit Butterfly. I also have an Instagram account, but really the best way to engage with this beautiful woman is to sign up to her courses and maybe tune in. Give me the honor of reading for you. I would really love to support you in my own language, that which I do best for the collective oneness. So kisses. I wish you a beautiful month. Please stay well and recognize what it is that you need. Don't be embarrassed. We're all going through something similar, but our own experience. And so the people who are able to support you will respond when you ask. So listen to where that is. All right, until next time, friends. Be well, take care. See you.